This week on Fade to Obsidian, we'll be discussing the end of Morningstar. We recommend that you have also read to this point in the book to avoid spoilers. Please be aware that this episode contains discussions about violence and death, as well as strong language. Listener discretion is advised.
Welcome to Fade to Obsidian. I am Salem, and I am joined by our hosts, Crescent and Skipper today.
Hello,
where we
everybody.
talk about the last quarter of the book.
Yes.
Morningstar, to be clear.
Yes, of Morningstar.
Yeah, just in case you've been jumping around.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
And also, both Salem and Skipper have copies sitting beside them.
Yes. Yes, look
I'm
at us
just helping
go.
out our audio audience.
Yes. Yeah. It should be worth noted that this is recorded before our Q&A with Piers, so we have no idea how that went, but I assume it was amazing.
Theoretically, it was fantastic.
You hope so.
Yes. Go back and watch that. Or join the den if you're watching this so early that you don't have access to it. You got to join the den and get the link to it. So there you go. But yeah, this week, it's the end of Morningstar. Before we get into that, what are we all drinking tonight?
I am drinking some concoction that I made with Blue Empress gin.
It's big.
It's big because
it is big.
I didn't want to go get a refill.
That's fair.
That's
fair. We endorse that.
It has mulled blackberries and whatever the pulverizing is.
Yep.
It has squished blackberries and lemon, along with ginger beer and seltzer water.
Delicious.
So. And it's got glitter in it, golden glitter.
Yay!
Hell yeah.
Red and gold.
Red and gold mix.
Mm-hmm.
Love it.
I feel like it's probably going to be similar to, since we're recording this prior, it's going to be similar to what the Fade one is, or the Fabled Spirits is going to give us, the Ragnar, so.
The Ragnar, yes. Yes. I'm excited for that one.
Yeah.
Me too.
All right, Crescent, what do you have? What do you got, Crescent? What are you drinking?
I'm drinking a single barrel selection of Lafroig's 17 year. It is far and away my most bougie scotch.
Very nice, very nice.
How about you, Skipper?
I have shipped to me from Crescent for my birthday Kittling Ridge Vidal ice wine. So it's an Niagara ice wine, and he lovingly sent it to me because it's bougie, just like what the Sovereign would drink. And today we get to talk Mustang becoming the Sovereign. So I will drink on behalf of her tonight. Ugh.
Not that we ever really need an excuse to drink on behalf of Mustang.
No, we do not.
She's the goat.
She is the goat.
Truly.
She is the goat. But before we get into her, we have to do the other relationship, the depressing, sad start. This book, we're just planning on crying.
Which one?
Well, don't we start this with
the aftermath
Cassius?
of Roke.
Yeah, oh, that's right. So we need the aftermath of Roke.
Yes. We just left off on Roke's death.
Yeah.
And now we're moving on into how everybody gave him a funeral.
Yes.
Just the way that he treated all of the people that used to be his friends.
Yep. Sent him into the sun.
Yep. What a way to
go! It says something about them that they would do that. Well, Darrow anyway, that he would do that for Roke after what he did, rather than just like
out the back.
Yeah.
Or just like into the engines or something. I don't know.
Yeah. It is a pretty big funeral. Like,
Yeah.
Send you off
It,
into the
Yeah.
sun.
was it everybody on this ship, or was it all of
No,
the
it was
close
just
to him?
it was just like the Howlers
Yeah.
for the most part, and Cassius.
And Cassius.
Yes, that's right. So, and that's more the relationship I was looking at, but when I first mentioned, but we can look at everybody's, and because it's obviously a tested time of some of them having only good memories and some are gonna, right? Like Mustang is
Yeah.
gonna pretty much remember him mainly fondly because yeah,
Well,
she
except
got
for
to
the
spend
past
and go to
year.
the opera and all of that. Cassius
Yeah,
is
she.
obviously very fond.
Yeah. Severo was pretty not, but he
Yes.
was there.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
yeah,
when Darrow even says, like, most of my friends are only here for me.
yeah. Which I also feel like is such an interesting thing. Like he, although I, I was so angry with that whole section of how Roke was trying to rebuttal all of Darrow's comments.
Just kidding things.
It's fine. Um, I feel like it was interesting to see all of Roke's rebuttals against Darrow, and even just as a reader, like I was so upset on everything that he was saying, but then Darrow turned around and was like, "Oh, I still see him as a friend," and I didn't agree with that.
Yeah.
I feel
Darrow
Darrow's.
like I'd
being
probably
naive?
be
What?
what?
I said Darrow being naive? What?
Yeah.
Never happens.
I think Darrow
He
holds
just
a lot of guilt, like, and we see it also with Cassius
That's
of the
very
whole
true.
time, and we'll continue to talk about this in a moment where we get the Cassius and him bonding of like, it's just this continual. They were my friends. Why aren't they my friends anymore? I just want them to like me, like even just allowing Cassius to be at that funeral, and then when they get slightly on and they're having kind of their back and forth watching all the old stuff, like it's just like, bud, sometimes you lose friends, sometimes
Yep.
they turn away from you and you just need to learn.
Sometimes they stab you in the back and shove you in a box.
Yeah, like you just need to learn to let
And at
go,
that
Darrow.
point, probably over.
Yes.
well, and even it's again, we have to remember that they're only in their early 20s, and it's unless they had like a childhood friendship that they lost, I feel like they're all coping very normally for the most part. Like Darrow definitely I feel like we've all gone through some point where somebody has betrayed you in some sort of friendship and you're still wishing that it was what it was before.
Yeah.
But you do know deep down that it's never going to be the same. And I think Darrow goes with that, but I wonder if more of his longing to have Roke as a friend is more of him missing the times that they had together versus where they stand now.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and I think like comes out when we talk when Cassius and Darrow are sitting there watching back the hollow cube, like the hollows of them at the institute, and like here's them, doing their races and what happened all through that. It's that nostalgia of look at us in our teen years, you know.
I also liked how in that moment Darrow finally has that realization that not everything revolves around him and these people created friendships when he was not around.
Yeah.
Because he started watching different holos of Cassius and Quinn and like Roke and Cassius and all of these other people that he knew, but he all of a sudden came back and realized that they were friends and that he didn't understand how.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, because we get to learn when Cassius first kissed Quinn.
Yeah.
Right? Like you get that little tidbit that like we saw that something was forming, but then the fact of like how, Cassius is like, "Oh, I did kiss her." Like yeah.
Yeah.
You finally found out what happened to Roke that one night when he went
Yeah.
missing. Yeah. But yeah, you're right that like Darrow has learned he's not actually the main character, even though he is the main character. He's not the main character of everybody's life, which is a
Yes.
hard.
Yeah, very true.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But that's I think one of my favorite scenes in this whole series, though, is just that I always like, as much as I love the action, those small in between humanizing moments.
Right. I think those are the moments that you connect to the character the most. Like, Pierce writes his action just boom, 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 but then you finally get those moments where like all of your characters can sit down and bond with one another, and that's, I think, the little sweet spot where everybody loves the characters and gets to know them.
Yeah, because just
Yeah,
sitting.
like I mean, you can develop, a god of war in your battle scenes, but like you can't develop like a likable, flawed, complex character in swordplay.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, because I don't know, it hits home really hard for me of just sitting around drinking whiskey, right? And it's the Lagavulin, aren't they? This is one of Lauren's last bottles that they're drinking and just reminiscing. And the two of them then have to work of like, where do we stand? And the fact that in theory they started an entire war based on Julian's death. Like, yeah. And where do we go from there? Yeah, when does this end? What happens? Because they're both getting so tired of it.
Yeah.
All right, Cassius can have a couple points during this scene. He's not quite a dolphin.
I think he's also growing as a character too. He just lost his entire family, and so now he's realizing that he is by himself and he needs to make decisions for himself. And he definitely made that decision by sticking with Octavia, and which is fine. He was doing that to protect himself. That was all that he knew. It was the opposite side from who he at the time hated. So a lot of his actions do make sense, especially given the way that he was like shown by growing up. I think what really helped towards the end is that he realized that he didn't really believe those things. I think one of my favorite lines is like with just this reread, I didn't remember it the first few times, and it was actually another moment I teared up, was he turns to Darrow and says, "No, this is what Julian would have wanted. Julian would have wanted me to do this." And that was to stand on Darrow's side and help with this rising.
Right.
So,
yeah.
Some good character development.
Very good.
From our dolphin boy.
From our dolphin boy. All right. Couple points.
Turning into a beluga.
I don't think I want a beluga in my house as well.
Killer whale. He goes from dolphin to killer whale.
I definitely don't want a killer whale in my. I would take dolphin over all of these sea creatures. Octopus?
What if you have a moat that's big enough to have a killer whale and it's just your guard whale?
Guard whale. He probably would make a good guard whale with his bionic arm and everything. Yeah.
It's not bionic.
Well, no. They should make it bionic if you're going to have a robot arm.
Work.
Yeah. But we do get good character development, which leads us to our next little bit, in which we have the grand plan that you don't see coming. Or
yes.
Hold on,
Okay, what am I missing?
We gotta wind it back a little bit.
There's still a good chunk of
Darrow's new relationship with the Moon Lords.
Oh, and I forgot. Okay, hold on. And I forgot the party. But yes, the relationship with the Moon Lords.
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah. So with Darrow faking out Romulus
Yeah.
and pretending that Roke has or is heading for the dockyards of Ganymede, and then subsequently blowing them up and dropping them on Io. They're around Io.
Yes.
Um,
Yeah.
and he, first of all, gives up the Sons of Ares. We didn't really talk about that in the
Yeah.
last episode. Gives up the Sons of Ares
Yes.
in the rim. All of them.
All of
Yeah.
them.
And he does say that, like, I gave them a heads up that it was happening. But, you know, there's still thousands that are going to get caught and tortured and killed.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But also, you've now committed this massive, massive transgression against these super honorable moon lords. And who knows what happens if they ever find out.
Right. Yeah, I guess to recap is so after Roke died, Darrow decided to take the opportunity to bomb the dockyards of Ganymede.
Mm-hmm.
And he claimed that it was Roke that had made that decision. And so now, if anybody were to find out, then he is so screwed because he just promised everything to Romulus.
Yeah.
So Darrow better keep the secret.
Yeah, it's kind of one of, I would say, the most questionable of everything he's done in all of this. Of the amount of lives, like, we know that the Iron Rain lost a lot of lives, but we still saw him through that, have that honor of, like, the kid he doesn't kill that ends up blowing him up, like, he still has that vibe of, I'm not going to take a civilian, I'm not going to do that. And this is where we see him kind of change that.
Yeah.
And you know, say, you know what, like, I got to do what's right long term, even though it's going to cost thousands of lives.
And I even thought that was just reading it where it was like, why did he even think that was a thing that was necessary? And why did he feel the need that he just needed to do it then and there?
Yeah.
Like, obviously opportunity arose, but really you're just gonna...
Well, I mean, he talks about how he's winning a war that hasn't started yet.
Mm-hmm.
Because even though the Rim has their independence, they're not going to let the Rising stand.
No.
So to him, it's basically giving them the time that they need to basically build the Republic into the Rising, I guess, into something bigger, better, enough to take care of themselves when that eventually ends up happening.
Right.
If that ever ends up happening.
Yeah. But we'll never know. Who knows? Tune in next week. But yeah, it's, I don't know. Do we think that if he had have just left the Rim, that, I guess, because they would have eventually just, someone else would have cut them a deal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It just seems so, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. That one's really hard to say. It's like Romulus seemed to think you were pretty honorable. You know?
Yeah.
Maybe he was just like, all right, well, if we don't have to answer to the core,
then we'll just leave you be.
You know, yeah, we'll just stay out here and
and just hang out. Yeah.
And they don't have to pay taxes. They don't have to do anything towards the core. So they had it pretty good.
Yeah. Do we know if Mustang was aware of the plan before?
For the
Because-
dockyards?
Yeah.
For the doc. I don't think
it was
so.
like it was
That
a
was
snap
his
decision.
Yeah.
Okay. Because it's just
He
one
was
of
like,
those let's just run everything past Mustang, please. Can she please advise at all cases?
Yeah, no kidding.
Zero
'Cause, like,
anything.
yeah, he he's basically like reeling in the aftermath of Roke's death, and someone asks for orders, and
Mhm.
somebody's about to send a message that's like, we've taken the Colossus,
And he says no.
and he's like, hold the fuck up, and then fakes his battle in the hallway, calls Romulus, and then, well, Victra, I guess, really gives the order to take down the docks,
Yeah.
Yeah.
which is a little tidbit of their relationship.
Yeah.
Him being willing to kind of let her take on some of the burden.
Yeah.
Mhm. And he trusts her enough to make those calls too.
Yeah.
Yeah, they've come up long cry during this one. And even, like in the past book of where she was the one questioned at every time of what is your, why are you here? Like, why should we trust you? And then we start this book that, yes, he's rescued her, but she's still chained to the bed, and still this ongoing, like, we've got a Julia in the room, like all of this. And, and now she's at the point where she is his second in command for all of that. Technically, and incidentally, because she put herself there, but still.
Yeah, I think she kind of, it was probably a little give and take on that one where he's like, I need somebody to help me, but Severo and Mustang are not available. And she's like, oh, I'll take this role. It's fine.
It's fine. I'm
I'll
here.
do it. You got
Yeah.
it. It's fine.
Yeah. But, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Good old Victra. Or not, if she's gonna, commit almost a genocide at the moment. But,
Yeah.
It's only mass murder.
It's only mass murder. I could go on a whole World War II comparison to the bombing of Dresden, but I will withhold. You guys last week got me on a whole tyrant about Lord Nelson that I will withhold my bombing of Dresden comparison. It can be another. We'll do another episode where I just sit here and go, wow!
All the historical comparisons.
All the historical comparisons to the British army tactics. But it is a historical thing to do, is take out, civilians' lives and whatever else in order to ensure that you stay the strongest.
Building infrastructure.
Yeah. And, it's very, very unfortunate.
Yeah.
But,
It's a shitty thing to do, but
oh, it's so shitty.
theoretically it's sound military tactics.
Yeah.
Well, that's why we have the Geneva Convention. So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, do they still have the Geneva Convention 1,000 years from now? I don't know. There's no reference to it in this.
If they're literally killing golds to get to the Institute, like...
Yeah, I guess.
I
They've
don't
thrown
think
the Geneva Convention out the window.
Yeah.
They're
If
now
you can
learning
imagine it,
from it.
You can destroy it.
Yeah.
They're now learning from it of like, ooh, that's a cool tactic to use. Ooh.
You talk about all the different times that Severo wants to do torture to people to get information.
Yeah.
I don't think it exists. I was like, I can't remember, was it Lauren or Dancer that was just like, oh, Severo had a point. Like,
Yeah.
he could do that. That'd get the most information out of him.
No, yeah. Oh my god. Freaking Severo and his knives.
3 minutes with a buzzsaw.
Oh yeah, that's right, where he's going through like, well, if you give me a screwdriver, well, if you give me this. It's like, oh my god. The whole time he's picking, this is what, a few chapters back, but he's picking under his nails and Victor's freaking out the whole time. I'm like, that's disgusting.
He also does that where he's like clipping his fingernails at the table, and she's just like, that is the most disgusting thing ever.
Yeah.
As you know that she's like falling for him in that moment somehow.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which we get that relationship.
I was gonna say, why don't we move to happier things from and we finally get that they're back and she proposes.
I feel like there's something else we'd have to talk about before that.
There's a few things between here and there.
I'm all over the place.
You're all over the place. So I feel like they come back. So that was when they were on Phobos.
Yeah.
So all of a sudden they come back and they're an item.
Yeah.
They're just a couple, and it's like, how did that even happen?
Yeah.
I want to know like the backstory on that personally, but
yeah, we talked about this last episode of like at what point is that flip?
Yeah.
Like, where does it occur? And who knows?
I don't know, man.
But yeah, but then okay, so where do they break? But then they break up. When did they break up? Because I thought it was going into this battle.
Antonia.
They break up. Yeah, sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, so they break up after Victra goes and beats the shit out of Antonia.
Oh.
And she's like, oh my god, I'm a monster. And she breaks up with Severo.
Right.
It actually happens before she beats the shit out of Antonia. Because he goes to go after, go with her after Antonia in her ship.
Mm-hmm.
And he goes to her shuttle and comes back, and Darrow's like, the hell? Like, she called it off.
Yeah.
No.
Darrow's like, called what off? Us.
Darrow's just so oblivious.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. Darrow has no idea what's happening outside of his, like, if he can't see it. Like, he's a child playing peekaboo. Like, it's just not there if he doesn't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so then we get Victra chasing down Antonia.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Bitch captured, fleet secure, victory mine.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Which is so Victra.
So Victra. I really like Victra in this part where, so we got Antonia comes back, her comparison to Thistle, who is also so guilt-stricken at this point of like, and the Howlers just are pissed. Like, absolutely. And you have them, waiting it out with the idea of whoever tells us the most information. Like, and Antonia knows not to play the game of like, no, but they're just going to kill you anyway.
Yeah.
And poor Thistle just...
Antonia playing her own game.
Yeah.
She's basically playing Thistle.
Oh, yeah. And then kills Thistle in her own cell. Before Victor and Mustang can even, like, they both realize, and again, Darrow's just oblivious.
Yeah, he's like, what? Yeah.
He's like, what's happening? And then, in such a fast succession, she just, like, absolutely, all of a sudden, Thistle's gone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and in just such a brutal fashion, too.
Yeah.
But Payback's a bitch. And Victra would have, comes in and demolishes Antonia's face.
Yeah.
In the audiobook, I guess this is your first time listening to the audiobook.
Yeah.
EDR describing it. And it's just, and Victra breaks Antonia's face.
Yes. Literally.
Every time he says it, I can visualize it every time. It's just like,
yep.
Yeah, just...
Yeah. Her nose is just caved in completely, like...
Yeah, it's like she's whistling through it, like...
Yeah.
Yeah, it is just horrific. And Victra would have finished the job, but they've got to pull her
absolutely.
completely off of her and be like,
Yeah.
no. Like,
And I think it's fucking hilarious. Where I think it's Darrow talking to Severo, or maybe it's just him talking to himself. But he says the Yellows thought Antonia was in a ship crash until they found the House Jupiter ring marks on her face.
Oh my god.
Like, she's got basically beat to death.
Yep.
Yeah.
To the very edge of her life.
Very edge of her life. But then Victra automatically goes into this, like, I used to braid her hair. I don't know what happened. Like, where did she
like
go
this?
wrong? Yeah. Yeah, and you get that kind of instant sisterly, like, I don't, almost guilt, maybe, of, is it something I did that she was raised to be like that and not like this? Like, where is that?
Right.
Yeah. Well, and then that's when she turns to Severo and she's like, see, I've got poison in me.
Yeah.
Like, so she just straight up self-sabotaged that relationship because she was worried she was gonna fuck it up.
Yeah.
And then in her eyes, doing that, which Antonia totally fucking deserved.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Was confirmation that she was absolutely gonna do that.
Mm-hmm.
Antonia, worst sister of the year.
Can confirm.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, so I was gonna say, what are the sister-brother relationships here? You've got the Jackal Mustang, who also dislike each other, but I don't think would ever get to the point of fully bashing it. Like, they might poison each other. They might hire other people to kill each other, because we know that the Jackal killed the older brother. Yeah. But to fully get that enraged of, I will take matters into my own hands in this, like, we're not seeing that.
And maybe that's because they had a closer relationship when they were kids.
Yeah.
Because you could still, like, Victor could still braid Antonia's hair while they're children, but still have a really distant relationship.
Yeah.
We get, which we can talk about later, but we do get where the Jackal does talk to Mustang about their childhood and how close they really were, and then just his jealousy that played into that. Mm-hmm. And it might be different where he's so constant. It could be that he's so constantly trying to win her approval that he would never dream of getting rid of Mustang.
Yeah.
Versus if she then turned around and did something like Augustus and disowned him, then maybe he would.
Yeah.
But she never once disowned him.
No. And she always goes back to this kind of, like, she always wanted her brother to be around, like they talk about. Like, she wished she had kind of more of a brotherly relationship than she did. But he was just his bizarre self that she couldn't have that. There's also probably something of the two of them being twins versus, I think, Victra and Antonia are 7 years apart. So as much as, like, I braided her hair, it's like, okay, so you were probably 10 while she's 3 or whatever. Like, there's that difference.
It could also be that maybe Victra had more of a motherly relationship with Antonia.
Yeah.
And that might be where she's like, oh my God, where did I go wrong?
Yeah.
In comparison to, oh, she's my sister, why didn't she turn out like me? It's more of, I helped raise her, why is she this way?
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely see it that way of, like, just in her manner of, like, why is she like that? It almost is self-reflecting of, what did I do in comparison to, like, Mustang? And it's like, meh, there's nothing I really could do. Like, he's not going to listen to me. Yeah. Yeah. But, yep.
Yeah. Crescent, are there any other things?
I know, I was like, what else am I missing? Well, I'm going to just stop trying to jump to the next thing, because I'm like, and then the end of the book.
Yeah. So after Antonia's beating, that's when Darrow and Cassius have their conversation.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
then Darrow gets the message that Neril gets to watch his uncle die
At the Jackal's hand.
at the Jackal's hand. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which I do, for backtracking to Cassius and Darrow, I think that's a nice moment for them to have that time together after all of this, where they're both tired. They're both ready to be done with everything. And for them to have that nostalgic moment and look at videos and kind of reflect back on how far they've come, I think that really does help them bond over again after it happened.
Yeah. Yeah, it comes at a very well put time of the I don't have enough energy to fight you anymore. Like,
Right.
and now we're mourning the loss of a mutual friend. So it's just that, like, can we not do this? And starts, I think, in a, like, let's just not focus on us, and then evolves into the, like, okay, let's focus on us and where did we go wrong? Like, it just has that nice way of working its way through.
Right.
I think it's kind of the beginning of them getting back to
Reconciling.
wanting to be friends. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, not that Darrow ever stopped, but
No.
but Cassius,
Yeah.
he's starting to come around.
I
Yeah.
would still like to know at this point if Mustang has visited Cassius and done a formal, like, you're aware we're broken up, right? Like, that's the other thing is, like, I still don't think she's seen him since the gala, and now she is, like, captured on the ship. All of this. Like,
He had to have seen him after the gala. Like, or some sort of. No, they do. They do because they have the meeting at the beginning of the book.
you're right. You're right. Okay.
So I totally could see her pulling her aside and
But
be
then
like,
at the same time, when they're on the ice and she's hits him with the bow and arrow, he does not think he's gonna get hit with the arrow. He's just like, she won't.
He's still in love with her.
Yeah, and I'm just saying she needs to, like, I'm hoping at this point she's like, dude, we're nothing. We're not even probably friends at this point. Get over yourself.
Yes.
Yeah, that was a complete sidebar, but I'm just saying.
I was just having like a personal flashback where I was like, oh, that connects to this moment. That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. Like, I'm just saying. I'm hoping that somewhere in this conversation between Darrow and Cassius, it's not a you also got the girl. Because that's got to be the double hit for Cassius of, like...
Oh, I feel like at that point Cassius is probably over it. Like, with the... I think he even... Does he say something about that? Like, I feel like he... No, when Darrow walks in, I think he first is, like, nervous that there's going to be some tension between the two of them because of Mustang. And I think Cassius even says something where he's like, nah, man, like, we're past that. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's like, something about it's already awkward.
Yeah.
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 Yeah, you killed my brother, I killed Fitchner, it's already awkward.
Yeah.
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 And then he gives him a holocube to watch in his cell.
Yep. And he even says sorry.
Where that'll lead. Yeah.
He's like, sorry, but you gotta watch this.
Fucking Darrow and holocubes.
Yeah, exactly. It's following his pattern of not doing it while he's in the room.
Oh my god. You think he would have learned from the first time?
You would think so.
Does Darrow ever learn, though?
No!
Nobody tells him anything. He doesn't learn anything.
He doesn't understand that people have their own lives. He doesn't get that. That they don't stop existing when he's not in the room.
I don't know.
Oh. Yeah. He's a special little guy, that Darrow.
Which then
Then
shortly
we get after Nerl,
Yeah.
we get the Obsidian uprising, I guess.
yes.
Well, that's it. It's not just Obsidian, but they all know that Nerl is loved. I think someone says more than, like, pretty much more than Darrow of this. Like, he is everybody's uncle, and you are going to have, and they have to kind of start, how are we going to have this massive, control? Because.
Right.
Yeah, he says that we just lit our own fleet on fire.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then it also took 3 weeks for the video to even reach Darrow, so it's not even live.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, he's been dead for 3 weeks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that, I think, is in that moment, just with all of the chaos that's happening and the way that Darrow and Severo try to control the situation is such a big character development for Severo.
Mm-hmm.
With everything.
Oh, yeah.
Especially with how insecure he was at the very beginning.
Mm-hmm.
And compared to at the end, he really has finally, like, found his place and come into himself.
Yeah.
So
I'm confused on the order of things. I read this last week. And then I went into Iron Gold. This is why I have to read it 1 week at a time, guys. You can't rush me through things.
You're rushing yourself.
Goes into Iron Gold, spends 8 chapters there, and then is like, no, fuck this.
Fuck it, I want Lightbringer. I thought he got the hollow cube after the wedding.
No.
What does he get pulled from the wedding for?
A meeting.
Yeah, the hollow conference with the Jackal.
So.
Oh.
There's 2 separate calls.
There's 2 separate calls with the Jackal. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, there's the one that's just the recording, a broadcast.
It's just a video.
That just gets picked up, and it is across the fleet before they can do anything about it.
Yeah. Which then leads to the uprising that Sephi is leading. And they are pretty much taking all of the prisoners, all of the golds that they consider murderers, and...
Right. I know where we're at. Yeah.
And then throws them off to the side.
Well, and then we get Severo stepping in and throwing Cassius off, and then...
That's huge.
Huge. Huge character development.
So pretty much
he does hang Cassius.
Yeah, Cassius kind of can't talk after that, but it's still huge character development of that, like, idea of, well, then I also am a killer.
Yeah, he does it for a purpose. It's not like he's just.
Yeah. It was almost synonymous with the way that Darrow did it for Tactus.
Yes.
And it's still a different situation, but he pretty much goes up to the edge and takes over from Sephi and is like, no, he killed my dad. This is my battle. So I should be the one to throw him off the edge. And so he does. And then Cassius is literally hanging there. And Severo's like, okay, well, and then he does this big speech saying, oh, we're doing, like, all of these things for the Rising. And he's like, oh, I've killed all of these people. And he's like, oh, I'm a murderer too. So I'll hang. And then
and what do we do to murderers?
Yeah.
And then the crowd's just silent, right?
Yeah. And literally everybody goes silent and they're just like, wait, what just happened? Like Ares threw himself over. And it's similar in the way that Darrow went and did the same thing for Tactus, where he's like, okay, I'm going to go punish you, but you are a representation of me, or I have done the same things as you, so I should also have those crimes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I also, to hark back to the beginning of the book where Darrow has this, like, sorry, not Darrow. Severo has this whole thing about how he's not Darrow and he's not Fitchner, and nobody, like, they would have cared if I was in the, like, box, and they'd prefer I be dead rather than you. Like, it's this whole ongoing, he's got such self-esteem issues over being himself, and then in this moment knows that they love him enough that's to control the crowd. That, like, they're not gonna let me hang. They're not. Like, he finally
like
kind
they
of comes
pull one of
into his own of, I am one of the leaders of the Rising, if not the leader, being Ares. And therefore, I myself can do this as well as Darrow can. Like,
yeah, and like even Darrow's talking about it to himself while he's watching, and he's like, I don't do anything because basically I'm watching my friend be reborn.
Mm-hmm. And Darrow's also confident that Severo knows what he's doing, and that somebody, if it's not going to be Sephi, somebody else is going to cut him down. Because nobody's going to watch him just do that.
Yeah, exactly. Nobody's going to let Severo die.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then, the biggest change of this, there's Sephi speaking for all of the Obsidian, but even bigger than that, Victra thinks that Severo's gonna die. And she freaks out.
Yep.
And proposes.
Yep.
I love how her ring is too big for him because they swap.
His is too small.
Yeah. Too small. It has to fit on her pinky.
Yeah.
And it's jammed on there.
Yeah. It's okay. Jeweler can fix that. Jeweler can get them resized. Yeah. Yeah, I think it's really adorable of the... She proposed!
Yeah, boyo, we're getting hitched.
I would never have imagined it any other way, honestly, for Severo.
Oh, yeah.
I don't think he would ever be the one to propose to somebody.
Oh, yeah. 100%. Like, he's the little, I don't know, shadow of everybody and just wants, it's not going to take the lead.
Little goblin that could.
Yeah. Oh.
And then we have their wedding.
They're in their wedding.
Mm-hmm.
Which I just love the imagery of, like, the reds are going full red. And it's that, like, you get Severo and Mustang are the two on the dance floor trying to keep up and just laughing their way through that. They can't. Because
they can't do the red dances.
Yeah. I also love how Severo is dancing with Mustang, because I feel like we never see any of their relationship.
Yeah.
Victor, like, comes over to Darrow and she's like, I think Mustang's gonna steal my husband.
Yeah, they're like, should we be worried about this? Yeah. It's true. That's kind of one of their few interactions without Darrow forcing them to interact, if you will. It's just this, like, very candid, they're clearly friends that are just, Mustang's gonna celebrate Severo's wedding. We also at this point get the clown and Pebble.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I picked up only this read that earlier in the book it does say something about Pebble keeps looking at Clown, but this
when
is
she's high on painkillers.
Yeah.
After having her leg broken.
But this is where it's Clown is I guess Pebble's dancing with a gray, I think, and Clown's like, what is that? Like, what's happening over there?
Handsome.
Does she like him?
You think she fancies him?
Should I go in? And Victor's just like,
I'll cut in.
Yeah, maybe you should go cut in. And it's the most awkward cut in ever.
And she's like, you make sure you bow first. And he does.
Yes, I love Clown and Pebble as kind of our main background characters, is what I'm gonna call them. They're always like, we just have to kind of assume that we just kind of have to assume they're always there, but they're not always named. Like, it's just like the Howlers this, the Howlers that, and then you still get these little tidbits that Clown and Pebble are their true, like, their own selves. And since, like, they're original, so they're, like, you get them in the Institute, just these small tidbits, rather than everybody else. It's like, yeah, they might have a name once, usually when they die. But other than that, like, there's some that it's like, who died? Who was that? Oh, okay. But, like, Clown and Pelby, you just get these tiny tidbits of their just life, and you just want to know the whole book from their point of view. Would be hilarious.
Yeah.
Of just having to
I
put
like
up with
that,
Severo and, like, oh god.
On rereads, it's like you come to a name, it's like, I don't recognize that name.
Yeah.
You're probably in danger right now.
Yeah, you're not gonna last very long.
Yeah.
No. Yeah, McClown and Pebble and now get their own little love story there.
Yeah. I like the fact that Mickey gets to go on Severo's bachelor party.
Yeah.
And he's just fucking tickled about it too.
I also love how Mustang comes up to, like, before the ceremony. She comes up to Darrow, and he's just, like, so drunk. And she's like, have you been drinking?
Are all of you drunk?
He's like, yeah? You're not drunk enough.
Yeah, you're too sober. Catch up. And I like that's a callback to when they were in the hangar with Deanna and the Telemonises and Darrow's whole family.
Oh yeah.
And he sits down and he's like, have you been drinking? She's like, yeah, catch up.
Yeah, we just get... It's just the cutest little break and comic relief. We get our love. We get everything.
Mm-hmm.
And then it all goes
love and happiness for 3/4 of a chapter.
Yeah.
And then Pierce has to ruin it.
God damn it, Pierce. What's your problem?
Can't let us...
We have questions for you.
We have questions.
Had questions
or
for you.
had them. We might have already asked these. I feel like every time we get, joy and love in this series, it comes crashing down.
At least this one was a nice moment where it wasn't interrupted, like for the whole party. Yes. This one was just interrupted for Darrow and Mustang.
Yes, that's true.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. Victra and Severo get to enjoy the rest of their evening. And I'm sure they enjoy the rest of their evening.
Darrow even pointed out, he's like, because he gets, yeah.
We are called Fade to Obsidian, guys. We gotta at some point.
If you're not gonna fade to Obsidian, go to the Rose Garden, please.
Yeah.
Yep. Anyways, Darrow, you were saying, Darrow points out.
Oh yeah, Darrow even just points out where he's like, okay, I'm getting this notice. I'm not going to make a big deal about it because I don't want to ruin their day. So he leaves quietly.
Yeah.
And it's a phone call from the Jackal.
The Jackal. It's hanging out with the Sapphire.
Yeah.
Yeah. So... we gotta...
Yeah, there's a lot in this section.
There's so much. Trying to come up with questions for question of the day, I literally came up with double the amount. Because I do one a day. And I came up with somewhere between 10 and 14 questions. And I was like, I'm not going to ask 2 a day. I don't have time. Nobody has time for that.
Yeah.
How do I get the key points?
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. There's so many scenes. There's so many, and all very important. All, either, because we're at the end of the trilogy. This is when, I originally read it, I believed this was the end of the series. So you have to not just, you're trying to wrap up. He's wrapping up the entire...
How you had mentioned, I don't know if it was on voice chat or if it was on one of the last ones we recorded, but I don't think they released Iron Gold's release date until a year after Morningstar had been released. Because I literally thought it was the last one, and Michael went to the signing for it, and there was no word about it.
I need to look because I've got tweets from him that are a month after, in which we talk about stuff at the end of this, and he talks Iron Gold.
Okay.
But I think there was a break. It was not like I read Morningstar believing Morningstar was the last one.
Yeah, I did too.
I don't think it was a full year, but I think it was a month or so.
Yeah, because it was such a surprise, because it was like Morningstar came out, and then I know I waited a long time, and then finally he announced that it, like, he's like, yeah, I'm just kidding, because even at the end of this book it literally says the end.
Yeah. Yeah. So we all read, like, I'm curious. I'll look it up after. But yeah, we all read this one going, so in this chunk we're in, you gotta, that's why we're getting the small Clown and Pebble. Like, we don't get a full that they're together, but you get at least that little piece that they get their ending. Right? They both get their happy ending. We get Severo and Victra. Like, you're starting to wrap up every single loose end. And there is a lot.
There's a lot.
Yeah. And
now, the funny thing is, I set that whole thing in motion. I literally meant this conversation between the Jackal and Darrow and Mustang.
Oh, you didn't even.
But you're not wrong. You're not wrong. No.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's talk Darrow, Mustang, and the Jackal.
Yeah.
I honestly don't remember what Darrow and the Jackal were talking about. I just remember.
Yeah, there's not that much with Darrow and
can't remember
the Jackal. But like, once Mustang comes in, well, first of all, the Jackal is still hanging on to Darrow's gift.
Yeah.
Right.
He's like, what does it mean that my greatest enemy knows me better than any of my friends?
Maybe you shouldn't be an asshole.
Yeah.
Not wrong. Like, can't disagree with you on that one.
Like, we also,
yeah, I was gonna say before that even, he starts this with how is the party, so he knows.
Yeah.
So someone's been feeding him information.
Oh.
Yeah.
That that connected some dots in my brain for later.
Yeah, that someone has been feeding him information that he calls fully knowing what is occurring.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so we get a lot of kind of small reveals. 10 chapters to the end of the book. Less than. And it's, oh God, how are we ending this?
Yeah. But yeah, so then, I mean, in comparison, Darrow's conversation with the Jackal was not as significant as Mustang's conversation with him, because we do get that point where the Jackal does admit that he pretty much has always been looking for approval. Mm-hmm. And they even talk about how Mustang told him, like, oh, it's us till the end, and how she rebuttals with a lot of things, saying that, like, well, you would have been a great brother. We always wanted to talk to you. We always loved you. But he had such high jealousy that as soon as Mustang went away with Claudius, he thought that he wasn't loved. He thought that he was left out. So he did not get enough love as a child, apparently. So given his parents, I'm not surprised. They also talk about their mother at this point too. And he comes, which I don't think Mustang had quite the same reaction as he did, that he admits. But he talks about how if he was loved, because she says, mother loved you, he says that, well, if she loved me, then why did she leave? Mm-hmm. And that's a very realistic thing that people do deal with when a parent dies, or when a parent does commit suicide. And I think from a childhood standpoint, because you don't know those people as adults, and you don't know them as somebody other than your parent, it's really hard to conceptualize and understand why somebody would do that to themselves and leave their children behind.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
So, and I think everybody deals with that kind of stuff differently, and he very much so thought that he was being abandoned. And whereas Mustang, I feel like maybe understood more.
Well, so Crescent's theory is the mom's not dead. That the mom literally left, and that Mustang believes that the mom, we don't know, still out there, but fully left. So when the jackal said, "Why did she leave?" It's still abandonment either way.
Yeah.
But it's very much that mentality of like, well, then I wasn't good enough for you to stick around.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think there's a little bit of an interesting parallel between Severo and the jackal. Where they both almost feel like they're not good enough.
Yeah.
But Adrius doesn't have those people to put him back together. Much like Darrow talks about at the end of Golden Sun. Like he was broken, and then he had all of his friends in Mustang to put him back together.
Yeah.
Where now it's Severo who is coming back together in this book.
Right.
And kind of coming into his own and believing that he's a real person and is okay.
Yeah.
And Adrius is just broken, battered.
Yeah, I almost wonder if Adrius, because then you look at the similarities on that standpoint, like, Severo has all these friends, but the jackal seems to not make friends. And I almost wonder if that is a psychological thing on his end, where he has these expectations, and he's been let down by these expectations so many times that he now doesn't feel like he can have friends, so he doesn't entrust people. So he can't form that relationship with them to get better.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I think it's
sure. Like
in you saying that it's not necessarily he doesn't have friends; it's he doesn't trust them to be, because you see that Antonia and Lilith being two of them, that like they're clearly beside, like on his side for an Antonia. We don't know, like, because obviously Roke's not, so who knows? But Lilith for sure is there, and we'll see her in a moment. But but he at all times kind of just disregards her, and it's just that she's seen in the background following him around.
Yeah.
I always can think of Lilith as like Bellatrix and Voldemort, where Voldemort is like wants really kind of nothing to do with Bellatrix, but Bellatrix and Lilith are sitting there going, "Hello, love me, I'm here." Like, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Like, I will follow you to the ends of the earth. Why don't you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And you even see, which I think is a little bit of Mustang's shield coming down, is you see Mustang start to cry in that conversation with the jackal, where she really does feel for her brother, because up until this point we kind of realize that she doesn't really like her brother. Like, she would rather not talk to him given the way that he is.
Yeah.
But they obviously have a relationship. They obviously grew up together and know each other, and she's getting emotional saying, like, trying to explain to him that we did love you. We do love you. Like, you're our flesh and blood. Like, I would have gone to the ends of the earth for you. And he's just not having it. He doesn't believe it. So.
Yeah.
Walls.
And then Darrow really gets under his skin. He tells him that he pities him.
Maybe the wrong move, dude.
Yeah.
Then again, the Draco probably needs to hear it. He thinks he's this elitist dude that's And he is smarter than the rest, don't get me wrong, but he knows he's the smartest person in the room.
Yes.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
And that goes to somebody's head.
Yeah. Well, and then like Mustang's kind of twisting the screws when she's basically going after him. She's like, "You have everything, and you're not happy. Like you're literally never going to be happy
No.
because you can't see what you have or had."
Mm-hmm.
Like, and she talks about how Darrow had just a little bit and he was happy.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. And I feel like the Jackal leaves that conversation kind of like, I don't want to say knocked down a peg, because I don't think he was, but I feel like he's given more food for thought than he intended that conversation to go.
Yeah.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
He didn't know he was getting them drunk. So, but like getting them and they would be drunk is what I mean.
Yeah.
That they're all in their feels for this one, especially Mustang.
Yeah.
Okay, but then do we get to talk about the plan that we don't know about?
Yes.
Yeah.
That's next.
Well, yeah. So we fly past the Rubicon beacons without firing a shot, which, if I'm not mistaken, no fleet in history has done. And Darrow's just like, "Yeah, my ragtag little fleet."
Yeah. Yeah. And then we get to go talk to Cassius again.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Antonia.
And
Yeah.
Antonia, who's
She's
like
there
in
too.
her cell, like lurking the whole time. Like I just picture her like
Yeah, she's like the little creepy lady.
Yeah,
crouching
exactly.
In the back
Like
corner of the hair, like hanging over her face.
Yeah. I wouldn't say like creepy lady. I figured more like a
gargoyle.
they definitely a what?
Gargoyle. I don't know. I just picture her like gargoyle perched.
They even describe her as like a wild animal. She's literally just a wild animal in a cage, like pacing back and forth.
Yeah. Like when you see the tigers in the too small of a cage, like she's losing it.
I mean, I'd be mad too. My sister beat my face in and they don't fix my nose. Like, to at least breathe.
Yeah.
Well, no, they do say that they pulled her nose out of her nasal cavity with forceps.
Oh!
That doesn't mean that she can breathe. She has so much swelling in her nose.
Oh, yeah, but like, how are they going to fix that?
So, I don't know.
It's 1,000 years in the future. They've got carvers.
How much can we grow?
Yeah, but are they going to waste the resources on fucking Antonia?
Oh. No.
Obviously not.
I don't think Victor would have allowed that.
No. There would have been a bunch of dead yellows.
Yeah. Well, and probably whoever authorizes that dead as well, because
Yep.
At this point, Victor's probably funding a whole bunch of their shenanigans, so...
Oh, yeah. Okay, so we get... we go in. The plan is to release Cassius. As long as he promises not to be involved in the war anymore, they'll let him go.
Yep.
And then they gave Orion the ability to give clearance for whatever ship was about to leave without telling her what was happening. And then Cassius
knocks them all out. Is this where we lose Darrow's hand?
No.
That's not yet. Severo is knocked out, and then they're all
Severo
stuffed.
Is killed.
Severo's killed.
Yeah.
Severo dies.
Oh, it's all so dramatic. is lying on top, Mustangs shoved in, and they're all just in a box. They're back in the box.
What's in the box?
What's in the fucking box? Yeah.
And then Cassius releases Antonia, and they fly away together to present Darrow and company to Octavia.
Yeah.
Yep.
They meet up with Adrius on the Lion of Mars, and that's when we find out that Adrius knew.
Yep.
And his freak is behind Luna.
Yeah. And Adrius also is there with Octavia. So not only are they meeting up, he is welcome into her super secret below ground secret tunnel thing down.
Secret tunnel.
You didn't do it.
You can't say the word secret tunnel without the secret tunnel song. What's that?
I set you up for it.
Thank you.
We can skipper this episode. It's fine.
It's fine.
Here's put tons of pop culture references in Morningstar. We're just doing the same.
Yeah. Like, bye, Felicia. So yeah, we get there, and that's when
we lose the hand.
That's when we lose Darrow's hand. Poor Darrow and his hand obsession.
Yeah, they meet in the shuttle bay of the Lion of Mars, and Lilith and the Bone Riders are there.
Hanging out.
Yeah.
Chilling.
And they superheat a razor in a ship engine.
Yep.
And then make Cassius cut Darrow's sword hand off.
Allow Cassius.
Well, yeah. Yeah. He's playing a part here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's like, oh my god.
And they
No, thank you.
No. That sounds like a bad time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, you couldn't even do it with like a pulse fist or anything, like how they handed Jackal when he was trying to saw off his hand. Like, you couldn't give him that. You had to.
Oh, an ion blade.
Yeah, ion blade.
Honestly,
You
like,
gotta be
it's
dramatic.
probably better for Darrow that it's a superheated razor. Because like a razor can go through skin, bone, muscle, tendon, everything like that.
No.
It'll go through star shell, like no problem.
Yeah.
The only reason they put it in the engine is so that it cauterizes on the way through.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well.
Which, I mean, so did the ion blade, but
yeah.
But he had to do a little bit of work, I think.
Yeah.
But either way, ugh.
No, thank you.
No thanks.
Yeah.
And then we get to see the Jackal seeing Antonia.
Yes.
She's like, "Don't look at me. I'm hideous."
And even he says, "Oh yeah, you're hideous. We can get that fixed."
No. He is like accepting of her and like tenderly kisses her.
No, he later though does say.
Oh, like, later, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
But like right now,
yeah.
When he first sees her, he's like, "No, you're beautiful. Like, scars are what make you."
Ugh.
It's like another Adrius being very slimy.
Ugh.
Was it that? I thought it was. Maybe I misinterpreted it, but because I totally thought he was like. It took Antonia. I thought it took Antonia back where he was just because Darrow's sitting there looking at it like, you're there. He sees that they have some sort of relationship that he didn't know about, and then he says something that's like, "Oh, well, you're like something along the lines of like, oh, you look bad," and then she was just like,
Yeah.
"Oh,"
So
but she was the one that was like, "Oh, scars are who make me."
I've got it here.
What does it say? Tell me.
So, my dear, what happened? He asks when he sees Antonia's face. Did Darrow do this? And she corrects him. She says, "My sister. The bitch will pay, and I'll have it fixed. Don't worry." And the jackal says, "Stop. Why fixed?" She says, "It's disgusting." And he replies, "Disgusting? My dear, scars are what you are. They tell your story." And then she says, "This is Victra's story, not mine." And he says, "You're still beautiful." And then he pulls her down gently by her chin and kisses her lips delicately.
Okay, when I listened to it, I thought the roles were reversed. And I thought she was saying that. I thought he was saying that about her, and she was saying that about herself. That makes way more sense. Okay.
Yeah, and then it says, "He doesn't care for her. Like Mustang said, we're just sacks of meat to him. But while she's as wicked a thing as I've ever met, she wants to be loved, to be valued, and the jackal knows how to use that." And then she hands him Severo's gun.
Yes.
Yeah.
And he immediately is like, "Ooh, good trophy," and swaps out his gun for it.
And pockets it.
Yep.
Yeah. Puts it in his main holster and gives his other gun to somebody.
Somebody else.
I literally just read it and I forgot who it was.
It's fine. It's not as important. He just doesn't have it.
Yeah.
Oh, it just says to a bodyguard.
Hello, random bodyguard. Yeah.
Yeah, here, have a gun.
Yeah. But now we get the, not betrayal, but Antonia being taken down by Octavia.
Yeah.
Of the like, Roke died. Why are you here?
Yeah.
Pretty much. And
Yeah,
I mean, to be fair, we know that Antonia ran away, but she at least tries to spin the story, and the Octavia's not having it. Of like, no, you shouldn't be here right now. Like, you should be
Or
dead.
you should have. Yeah, you should be dead. Like at this point, you should have been there to protect him. Instead, you saved yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So. No.
Bye,
Yeah, and then we get to see
Antonia.
Aja
Didn't
choke her
like
to
it
death
anyway.
and snap her
Yeah.
neck. The one time I like Aja.
Yeah, right? Just
Yeah.
one redeeming factor. Yeah. And I think at this point, Cassius, they tell him to leave and he opts to stay. He says, I deserve to stay
Yeah,
through
I
all
want
of this.
to stay till it's done.
Yeah. Because they're gonna execute Darrow on live television.
Again.
Again, because and that was the thing that like Octavia kind of said something and the jackal was like, "Oh no, it's fine. You can just get rid of him." She's like, "No. I like need him to be here to say what he needs to say because last time I was fooled."
Yeah.
Yeah, last time we killed a puppet and
Yeah.
the world's no.
Yeah. And
so
she was
even
gonna
know
let
that this is him.
and she was gonna let the jackal kill Darrow.
Mm-hmm.
She does let him.
Mm-hmm.
And that doesn't go well.
No.
No.
I love it every time. Where it, like, you know, the gun kicks in his hand, the
Poof.
yeah, the
gunpowder.
plume scorches my scalp, but I do not fall. And it's like, oh fuck. The first time I read it, it's like,
what?
What's happening? What the fuck is happening right now?
Mm-hmm.
And then Cassius
turns
opens the vests, and Darrow's got a knife underneath his.
Yep.
Which, That's some pretty good sleight of hand. Somebody gave him a knife between him getting his arm cut off or his hand cut off and getting put back in the prisoner vest.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, I mean, at that point, it's just Cassius is the only one that would be on his side to give it to him.
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then all hell breaks loose.
All hell breaks loose, and they're just pretty much chasing each other and running from each other and hitting each other.
Yeah, Cassius kills everybody else in the room, basically.
Yep.
And he kills the 2 Olympics that are in there. And Darrow guts the Sovereign.
Yep. And then Aja is literally just sitting there, like, trying to help Octavia the entire time.
But she can't turn her back
on anybody.
To Darrow, Mustang, and Cassius to open the door.
Yeah, to let the rest in.
Yeah, and Darrow's like, we'll wait all day. Like, she's the one with the ticking clock.
Yeah. And then
we get the snake bite.
And then Aja, first we get Aja just dismantling the 3 of them.
Yeah.
Yes.
And then Cassie's like, we're gonna die. Like, you better do this. And then the snake bite.
Syringe to
God.
Severo's chest, and then you get the.
And he had the same swill that Darrow did, that Nero gave him.
Yeah.
To stop his heart.
Yeah.
And he was never really dead.
He was never really dead.
Technically, he was.
Technically, but. Yeah.
I don't know. Gold is 30. I turned my notifications off.
It's okay. We can't hear them.
Okay, good.
But yeah, you get Severo going full ham.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And he just goes after Aja.
Oh yeah. Well, that's the only person left in the room. Well,
exactly.
But and Octavia's slowly bleeding, or rapidly bleeding corpse.
Yeah.
Soon to be corpse.
Yeah. Do you guys think that was a proper way for her to go? For Octavia? Or should it have been more dramatic? Like, I feel like that was a great plan that they had.
That's, I don't know, like, how does it get more dramatic than that? Like, and considering the whole thing is broadcast?
It's true.
That's true. I always forget that part.
Yeah.
I just really like the scene as a reader because Pierce leaves us 100% in the dark. That we think it's actually going to shit, that Cassius has betrayed us, that everything, like, at no point does he say, like, but don't worry. Like, you are, as a reader, kept in the dark so much.
And that's what I like about his writing, is that he keeps the reader in the dark. Like, obviously there's a plan, but he does so well at not hinting at it.
Yeah.
Like, you kind of get the idea that maybe Cassius is more on Darrow's side, so it's almost like you're more hurt by the fact that Cassius isn't in that moment. And you're just like, I thought that they were having a nice moment, but I guess not. And then he just literally takes him, and then he it's funny at the end too, because even Cassius is like, so how's my acting?
Yeah. But yeah, no, I greatly. But to me, I mean, I know Octavia is technically the big bad, but it always felt like the Jacqueline Aja were the actual, like, those are the ones you want dead. Like, Octavia's like, yeah, you're there.
Octavia's like, nebulously evil.
Yeah, rather than it's
She's
Jackal
Just
and
like
Aja.
common
Those are
evil.
the ones that you want to see the body. You don't want them to rot
Yeah.
in jail. You need
Yeah.
them. You need to see the body. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
They need to be done.
They need to be.
Yeah. And then we do.
Mhm.
Yes.
Mhm.
And yeah, after Severo wakes up, we see something that few people alive have ever seen. And it's Aja's blood.
Mhm.
Man, I love Severo's line. He's like, "Oh, so you do bleed. Let's see how much more you got in there." Like, holy fuck, Severo.
Yeah.
It's the best lines.
Oh yeah.
What was I going to say? But then we also find out at this point that the Jackal had a backup plan. And we've
Always
got
was
to go after Lilith.
And that was and that was why the Jackal was allowed in there, and why Octavia was going to allow the Jackal to kill Darrow.
Yeah.
It's because the nukes were not on Mars. The nukes were on Luna.
Yeah.
500 planet killer nukes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he just tells Lilith, because Lilith runs away, and he's like, oh, just, keep me in the loop, pretty much. And then he says to her, like, oh, how about this location? And she detonates one of them.
Yeah.
Just at the flip of a switch.
Just a switch.
Yep.
But we get Lysander make his comeback of the call my grandfather, call the Ash Lord. Because he regrets what he did so many years ago. He will save you in this moment. And it's the 10-year-old has the guys, this is what it's gonna be, and they have to call and be like, hey, I know we're the bad guys, but trust us on this one. There's a badder bad guy. Trust us. We've got your great grandchild, I guess, to the Ash Lord. Lysander would be the great grandchild. No.
Are they even related?
I don't think they're related. I think he's Godfather.
No.
It's the Godfather. Godfather.
Yeah.
That's it. Godfather. But either way, it's we've got him.
Except now
he
Lysander
trusts
is
us.
making the offer he can't refuse.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. But yeah, we need, and you get kind of Mustang negotiating of trust me, maybe. But yeah. We get
and Lysander is
Lysander.
she is not a tyrant. She is our conqueror. She's not a traitor. She's our conqueror.
Mm-hmm.
And hands her the Dawn Scepter.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. How do they debilitate Adrius? I don't remember.
Helldiver hands.
Oh.
So Darrow had staked Adrius to the floor by his arm with a razor.
Oh yeah.
His one-handed arm.
Yep.
And then once he starts laughing because of the
irony
bombs, they let him up.
Yeah.
And then Adrius wants Darrow to kill himself. He wants, and that'll stop everything. And Darrow's like, no, and jumps on him, jams his Helldiver hand down his throat.
Oh yeah.
Pulls his tongue out.
Why did I forget this?
He pulls his whole tongue out.
Yeah.
All right.
Unbelievable.
Yeah. With his two fingers, not his whole hand, his two fingers.
Well,
on his non-dominant hand.
As many fingers as he could get down Adrius's mouth.
I think it says that he grabs it between his two fingers and he pulls it out.
Yeah.
Between his thumb and forefinger?
I think so. I think that's what it is.
Ugh.
I was gonna say, you doing okay over there, Skipper?
Yeah, I'm not great with the grossness here. I thought I was okay with gore and blood and stuff, but apparently not.
Let's see. Oh yeah, yeah. Forefinger and thumb, like the
Win!
fleshy little baby pit viper it is.
Wow.
Yeah, he punches him in the throat, jumps on top of him, and rips his tongue out.
He'll never eat
And
humming.
also that. Oh darn!
Oh
That was
darn.
Lilith's thing anyway.
Oh. Bam. Yeah, then we get the epic.
And then the epic walk to the Senate chamber.
Yeah.
Where
That's
where
the-
Mustang is holding two signifying things.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. One is the scepter. The other we don't find out until she makes it to the throne room. As
Where
literally parting the masses.
Yeah, I was gonna say you
yeah,
get the like.
and as she passes them, they're basically falling in behind them, and her
Yeah.
numbers are growing as she's walking through the citadel.
The people that don't follow her, they immediately kill them.
Yeah.
Like those people
Yeah.
either run or the ones that are fighting get dismantled.
Yeah. And then we find out they go into the Senate chamber, and the Senate was holding an election.
Like, really? Like, okay, so the only thing that they don't signify is it an election of who's going to take over sovereign, or is it an election that's just like a basic election?
Yeah, like
No,
maybe
no,
they're just voting on paving the streets, guys. Like maybe they're just
Exactly. Like, are they literally holding just some like really random election, and so they have been stuck in this chamber and have not heard the news, or are they like fighting over who should be sovereign next? Because that was another thing Darrow kept talking about is like, okay, this is gonna blow up if we don't find a sovereign immediately, and that's why they chose Mustang.
Yeah. He says that the senators look like kids caught with their hands in the biscuit jar.
Yeah.
And I've always taken it to be implied that they were voting on a new sovereign.
Mm-hmm. That's kind of what I mean. It'd be an immediate like,
Yeah.
okay, we
Because
need
like
some-
there's immediately a power vacuum.
yeah. And so who do we fill before somebody else can rise?
Yeah, exactly.
Well, somebody else already rose. She was on it.
Yep.
And she's
And-
carrying the head of the old sovereign.
Yes.
Gross.
How metal is that? She's literally
Yeah, that's so
holding the
fucking
scepter
fast.
in one hand and then the head of Octavia in the other.
Oh.
Yeah.
She's got to prove it, but you know, I deserve it. Yeah.
And he throws the head. Like,
Yeah.
and
Well,
she
what else are
literally-
you gonna do with
Yeah.
it? I don't want to keep holding it.
Yeah.
Put it down nicely.
I listened to that scene this morning and I was like, oh, she literally brings it in there. She's like, yeah, I don't need this shit, and throws it. And she's like, you all believe me now.
Yeah.
And then Mustang is sovereign.
Mustang is sovereign.
Which even Darrow points out, he's like, yeah, we all have a part to play whether or not we want to play it. So he knows that she never wanted this,
Yeah.
but she'll do it if she
if
thinks
she
it's
needs to. That. Like, who else are they gonna make sovereign? Darrow's not.
Severo.
So I was gonna say
Severo.
Severo would be the worst.
necessary.
Victra would be terrible. Like,
Even Darrow says that he, like, nobody would follow him. Like, people of the Rising would follow him, but the rest of everyone would not. So it needed to be somebody that people could trust.
yeah.
Yeah,
So-
he says like if I'm the bridge to the low colors, she's the bridge to the high.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
what can you do?
Well. And we get the epilogue.
And then we get the
Yeah.
end. Well, the last chapter and then epilogue. Epilogue is just wrap up.
Oh, I thought that it was in the epilogue. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's the
'Cause
the
I
last chapter is where they're on the beach.
Oh, I always thought that was epilogue. But yeah, okay. So last chapter, we're hanging out
Yeah.
on the beach. We're just enjoying our life. We can
And
finally rest.
It's Darrow's first time on Earth.
that is actually supposed to be the Olympic Peninsula.
Where you live. Ish.
Yeah. Ish.
Ish.
Cool.
That's awesome.
So
Yeah.
yeah. That was where I started crying.
Yeah.
Like, literally, I got to that part and I was like, I know what's gonna happen. Here come the waterworks. It's fine. I don't have to try and read the pages. It's fine.
Yeah, I know what happens. And I'm listening to it.
Exactly.
It's fine.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But yeah, they're having a nice little picnic and they're burning some driftwood on the beach and
You have the adorable. I just like where she hugs him and he makes the comment how well they fit perfectly together. Like they both. We know that emotionally, mentally, but physically,
they fit together.
they fit like puzzle pieces, and you just get this. Great that they are together. They are so perfectly matched. But then he's got to ask the question of why were you testing me all these months, and are you still testing me?
But why did you?
Did I pass?
Yeah.
And she says yes in the end.
Yeah.
Yep.
That she needed to know that he was not only there mentally, but he was there to be there emotionally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, she wanted to know that he could build, not just break.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think that's like one of her more iconic quotes too.
Oh, for sure.
So.
Yeah. Which is
And
when
then
the ship lands.
And then a ship shows up in the distance and lands down the beach, and all the Telemanises come out. First, Sophocles comes out.
Yeah. Bring back
Love a good
Sophocles.
Sophocles.
Sophocles comes out, and then Cavix, of course, comes running down.
Yeah.
And then
Diana.
yeah, and then holding
the baby.
holding Pax. She named him Pax, and it's Darrow and Mustang's child.
Oh.
To which Darrow finally got to have his child.
He finally gets to have a full family. Yeah.
He gets to be dad.
He gets to play dad. It's just so sweet and such a good ending.
Mm-hmm. To which we also find out that, because that's a result of, a fade to obsidian moment in the hospital. But we do find out that as soon as she realized, she went into hiding.
Yes.
And she hid away. What was it, like outer rim?
Yeah, she was in the rim.
And so she hid out there until she gave birth.
Yeah, with Cavix's wife, I think, is who she's hiding with.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and then left Pax with Niobe to go back to war.
Yeah.
Because she wasn't done.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, which now makes sense why Niobe was not anywhere in this book.
Yes.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
That we only ever hear. Well, even in Golden Sun, we don't see her, but they talk about how they are calling the women to go to war, that the Telemanis women will show up for war, and she does not. She does not show up for war.
Yeah.
Things to do.
Yeah. She's being grandma.
Exactly. She's a better grandma than anybody would have been. Besides,
Deanna's gonna be a good grandma, but
she already is.
yeah. She's already got like 4.
Okay. Yeah. Also, like that image of Deanna walking down. She's small because she's a red, and she's holding this gold child.
Yeah. So Pax is probably like a 5. Well, he's supposed to be 1, right? So he's probably so he's probably the size though of a 4 or 5-year-old to her. Like he's pretty big, and she walks with a limp, does she not? Like she already is.
Yeah, because she had the stroke.
Yeah, so she's already struggling, and they're like, this will be the person who carries the giant child.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which then makes me, like, especially with this reread, and I have not been able to talk about them, like, all of the little indicators that were leading up to this moment. There was that moment when Kavix and Deanna and Daxo were all in the same room, and Daryl walks in, and they're all bonding because they all know the secret.
Yeah.
And even Daryl's like, oh, it looks like Mustang wants to tell me something. And Kavix gets this look of like, you good to tell him? Do I need to leave? Are you going to tell him? And she doesn't tell him, obviously, but it's interesting how you see those connections after that.
Well, and Deanna's parting words in that is, come home to me, both of you. It's come home to me, and kisses Darrow on the top of the head, and it's this sweet moment of, we clearly know that she knows Mustang is more in his life than, like, some passing girlfriend. Like,
you guys know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's super cute. And yeah, there's a whole bunch of...
Oh, there's so many. And we were, I mean, to bring up what we were talking about today is, like, when did she find out? When did Mustang find out? Like, was it, which now thinking about it, she disappeared as soon as she found out about Darrow. But did she then find out about it, and that's why she wasn't at the
trial?
Yeah.
Because how far, this is, oh my God, let's look at this from a medical perspective. How far from the hospital bed to the mines? Like, is that a week?
Right.
2 weeks? Because...
That's a Crescent question.
Yeah, come on.
Oof.
We gotta track conception and
I forgot to plot this all out.
We've got questions.
They carry children for 9 months, so it is a normal human cycle.
Yes.
Yeah.
So we're guessing, yeah.
So, I mean, it could have been, because
all you need is 2 weeks for her to realize, really, that she's late.
Yeah.
Like, period-wise. That's what you need. It needs to be 2 weeks, and then she would know in the mine. If it's less than that, chances are she doesn't know.
Yeah.
If it's more, then maybe she just doesn't track her cycle, and we don't know. Like...
And then how far from the mines to the party was it?
Well, it's long enough that Darrow gets a hangover, so at least one night. But we assume a couple. So probably my guess is by the Triumph, she knows.
And that's why she's not there.
That is my guess, is by the Triumph, she knows.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not clear.
Oh.
Yeah. Let's leave it up in the darkness. You say that, but maybe we asked this question 3 nights ago.
Yeah, maybe we already know the answer. We'll see you in
answer.
next week.
And people are sitting there screaming at us in the comments. Like, you guys know this. Or they're currently sitting there screaming in the comments, why didn't you ask? There's 2 ways that this is going on. Who knows? Yeah, it's all kind of, it changes a few different things in Golden Sun, depending on when she knew.
Yeah.
And also, I think either way, the emotional trauma that you're going through, whether or not it's, when they execute Darrow, whether or not
that makes her first scene seeing him even more traumatic for her.
Yeah.
Like, the fact that she has now had his child, she has accepted the fact that he is dead because she saw it broadcast on TV. Everybody believes it. Severo's the only one who she just thinks is crazy at this point. And so not only is she worrying about the child that is off on the outer portion of the rim, she now sees that child's father like a ghost.
Yeah.
And and it's just like, oh shit.
Yeah.
Like, there's so much more stacking on this.
Well, because even you got to think, so I thought it was 9 months between Golden Sun and Morningstar, but it's a year because it's 3 months and then he's in the box for 9. So this kid is 3 to 4 months old, depending on where we're sitting. And
well, because Darrow and Victra get carved after getting rescued, and then they have to
that takes 2 months.
Put all their muscle back on. Yeah.
Right. So this is like a 6-month-old child for the sake of, like, at that point, if you are raising a child who you are probably already emotionally and talking about, like, your dad loves you, he's in, well, they don't have the veil, but like typically people who are raising a child in that manner are already like talking to that, like, a 6-month-old about, like, this is why dad's not around. Like,
yeah.
And obviously the kid, it's easy to reverse the kid because they don't fully understand. But you mentally have not just had to eternalize that for yourself, but picture what your entire future is going to look like through this, and probably internalize it more than everyone else because you are putting it on someone else. Like, that is a lot.
Yeah.
The other thing too is, like, there's another, like, probably 2 months in there that's not necessarily unaccounted for, but like when they go out to the rim and back, like, that's a long ride.
Yeah, I mean, we could say that Pax is a year. By the time
I would guess he's between 6 months and a year.
Yeah.
By the time they're on the beach.
Yeah. I was thinking when Mustang sees Darrow. That's what I was aiming for, was when Mustang sees Darrow, is that she has spent not just her pregnancy, but like 6 months of this child's life.
I think he even says it's been almost a year since she's seen him. If not more, I think is what he says. It's something like that.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah. So, but it's okay. We all end happy. Or do we? Yeah. For now.
Yeah, we do.
For now. It did end on a happy note.
It was a very happy note. And I looked it up while Crescent was doing one of his looks. So the difference between our signings is Seattle is always the second or third signing, and then they do New York. They announced Iron Gold at the New York signing, and Toronto was the night after. So I would have gone to the Toronto signing knowing Iron Gold was coming, and so I think a lot of people changed their questions to be like, excuse me, you just gave us this perfect ending. And then, because I just looked through the Sons of Ares, who's Blair's sister's account, and I could see, and it's really funny, the Toronto picture is actually the picture I took, but that's her, like, Howlers in Toronto, but it's the night before. They say, it's the releases, it just says Pierce Brown lands at #1 with Morningstar, plans new series, and it does say that it is called Iron Gold. So we did know immediately there. But yeah, you guys at your signing, they would have been waiting for the New York signing.
Right.
There you go. Link in bio. I bet you that link is no longer in the bio.
No.
Seems legit.
Different link now.
But yeah, and then you get, I don't know if you're going to be able to see it. I'll have to put it in. There's me high-fiving Pierce. And then I am in the front row. There. Yeah, I'm in.
I can't see that, but I'll believe
it. Yeah, whatever. I'll put it in later. Yep. So there you go. But yeah, for now, we got our cute little happy ending, which some people, so there is people who stop at Morningstar, and others continue on.
Yeah, so I actually have one friend who is just, I don't think he will ever read past Morningstar.
I have a friend who got about halfway through Morningstar, and I don't think she'll ever finish. I can't remember. It was a pretty, like, hefty scene, and I don't remember which one it was, but that was where she was like,
Ragnar.
it probably was Ragnar. And because she did like Ragnar, so I think she was more of like, no, I'm good.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know what other happy ending could be in this, so.
Yeah. I get
Thou
it.
shall never know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have a few coworkers who I was talking about this, and they're like, they're like, I've never read Iron Gold, and I probably won't. But I wonder how many people will switch. Like, there's a couple people in the den who are doing the read with us, and have said, like,
For their
I just
first
don't
time,
like the end. Like, I need it to be finished.
Yeah, there's a lot of people, like a lot of readers out there that unless a series is finished, like they don't want to wait. So they want to read all at once so they can read them back to back. And and I get it. Like they don't want to have to wait for it.
Sure.
I don't think I would have been able to wait.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I got lucky coming in between Morning Star and Iron Gold.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
So.
Yeah. Well, and then now we've all done the 4-year wait from Dark Age to Lightbringer. So
I realized that I have been married as long as it has been since the release of Dark Age. Literally.
Oh.
So Dark Age came out. We went to the signing, I don't know, it was like the 27th, 28th of July. It was literally like the day after release. Or second day after release or something. It was like a Wednesday or Thursday.
Yep.
And then my husband went on his bachelor trip. I went on my bachelorette trip, and then we got married. Like a week and a half later.
Yeah.
So I have been waiting that entire time.
Yeah. I feel like the pandemic made it that it didn't feel like so long. I don't know. I feel like between Morningstar and Iron Gold felt a lot longer, the 2 years, than the 4 years. And I don't know if that's just we had more things to concentrate on, or we knew what was like. Pierce was very good about telling people of like, it's going to be delayed, it's this reason. And like, I also think being this far in, me personally, I would rather have a very good book rather than a rushed book. Like when he talks about how he's scrapped like the
200 pages.
Yeah, like I would, if he doesn't feel that's the story to tell, then I trust him in that rather than him going, well, I'm this far in, I might as well just do it. Like,
well, I don't know if you saw, but he said at the Emerald City Comic Con that he went to, he scrapped those 200 pages because he was starting to create a pandemic scene in there.
Yeah.
Mirroring COVID. And he didn't want that. It was too close to home. Like nobody's gonna want to read something that they just went through. Mm-hmm. So he was like, "No, I gotta read you 200 pages."
Yeah. Yep. But again, like I appreciate that. The self-awareness of that, and I'm gonna do that rather than come out with a half-ass book.
Yeah. Something that we're all not gonna be as interested in because we literally just went through a pandemic.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yep. Well, last words for Morningstar?
10 out of 10.
10 out of 10.
Yeah. I guess maybe since we were finished with the the first 3 books of the trilogy, which of the first 3 are your favorite?
Golden Sun. Golden Sun's my overall favorite.
Ooh, that's spicy.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Why? What's yours?
I think Dark Age. Yeah. I think for me, overall, Dark Age is my favorite. I think given this reread, I really enjoyed going through Morningstar again. Like, I will always hold out for Red Rising because that, like, just everything that happened in the Institute was so cool. But I think how Pierce's storytelling evolved into what it is in Morningstar, I really enjoyed that.
Yeah. Yeah, I get it. The character completion that we see, and yeah, it's a solid one. They're all solid, but I just like I like the action-packed betrayal, the like that portion of Golden Sun, you don't know. I don't know. I feel like it's even halfway through Morningstar, you don't know how they're going to get out of it. But Golden Sun is such a like, you think they're on the right track and not. And like, yeah, that just action pack. Every character that you have to twist in, and the world building, like the solar system becomes so much bigger in Golden Sun, and it grows with every book, but Golden Sun is the one where you kind of see the actual society versus here's the Institute. That I appreciate the world building of Golden Sun. Yep. All right.
Okay.
All right, well.
Yeah.
See y'all next week
Salem,
for Irongold.
for joining us.
Yep. Thank you, Salem, as always.
As much as it was very nice to have this very happy ending, it will be fantastic to uproot it next week.
Yep.
Next week.
For the first section of Iron Gold.
Well, next week for the folks watching, like 3 weeks for us.
Yes.
Yeah, it's like 3 weeks for us.
Yeah. I'll be starting here
and
soon.
It will be
detrimental.
Chapters 1 to 17 of Iron Gold.
Yep. If you're not already, join the Discord at discord.gg/thehowlersden, and we'll be seeing you in the chats.
Yeah. Thanks, everybody.
Indeed.
Bye.
Bye.
See you.